Good day, welcome to the Math Salon. I'm Dr. Anumendem. Today we're looking at the advanced level equation. This advanced level equation has to do with the idea of straight lines, linear relationship between variables. So the idea of this type of questions that come very often, I would say maybe 80% of the time, you will get a whole paper 2 question or part of a question that has to do with this. So they usually will ask, plot a suitable straight line and determine or estimate the values of A and B, or plot a linear relationship and determine this constant or that constant. That is the idea. And usually you are given a set of values like here. So they will give you a small table like this with 2 rows of values, one for X and one for Y. And based on those numbers, they will give you a relationship like this and ask you to determine the values of A and N here, like this case. So they will say, by plotting a suitable straight line, estimate the value of A and N. Or by plotting the graph of a linear relationship, estimate the values of A and N using the data that's provided to you and this relationship that is given based on the X and Y. So there are some few things I would like to remind you, at least so that you prepare yourself for the next part of the equation. This will be about logarithms and exponentials. So we already have learned in the past, you know, that if I have something like A to the power M is equal to N, that means the log of N to the same base, A, is equal to M. So this base raised to the power N is equal to N, means the log of this N, base, must be equal to that. So base will always remain base. So this you should know. You should also remember that log of A to the power N, let me say to the base 10, is equal to N log A to the base 10, for example. So if I have log of a number that has a power, the power can come in front. It can come and be here, which is a good thing. Also, that the log of the product of 2, let me say, and B, say to the base 10, is equal to the log of A to the base 10 plus the log of B to the base 10. If it was a ratio, it would be a difference. In this case, we don't have that, but just that you know, that can also be the case for another problem in hand. So once you can remember some of these, that I can move from exponential to log like that, and that log of a number to a power, the power can come in front, and that I can split the product of 2 logs with the sum, then it's good. So we move ahead to the next step. Now we talk about linear relationship. If I have a linear relationship between 2 variables, y and x, for example, that means we can write them in the form y is equal to mx plus c. There are different forms of equations of a straight line, but this is the most general one that we know that you can use for this type of problems. So if that is the case, what we do is that if I can establish this linear relationship, then what I'm left to do is get the value of c and get the value of m. Let's say that you were able to get values for y and values for x and that you plotted them on this axis as here. Maybe sometimes some could even be a little away because it's going to be an estimate. So it's not going to be the exact thing. So then if you draw a straight line, this straight line, you have to make it long enough to cross the y-axis, and this is called the intercept. So this c is called the y-intercept, which means it's the value of y when x is equal to 0, because when x is 0, x 0 times m is 0, and y is equal to c. So this place will be c. So if I succeed to plot my graph and get a straight line and extend it until it cuts the vertical axis, at that point, when x is equal to 0, y will be c. So I already get c here for free just by extending the line until it cuts the y-axis. The next thing is to look for m. Once you've drawn your straight line on your graph paper using a ruler or whatever you've done and extended it until it cuts the axis, then what you need to do is look for 2 points on that line, as I will show you here. So let's say you take a point here on the line that's called A and a point here that's called B. Once you have chosen 2 points, I would advise you to choose the point in such a way that it falls on a whole number value of the axis, if it's possible. Except that's not the case. Of course, you have a calculator to use. So if that is the case, you try to look for what value of x corresponds to that A. Let's say that is x1. And you also go to the axis and see what value of y corresponds to, let's say y1. You do the same thing for B here. Let's say it is x2. And you do the same thing here and you get y2. To get m is called the gradient or slope of the straight line. And this value, when it's positive, it means that your line is increasing to the right. And if it's negative, your line is decreasing to the right. For this case, for example, m will be positive, but that's not the most important. It's just as long as you have a straight line, you'll be able to do what I'm explaining to you. Choose 2 points there. That means what you are led to look for is this. As a gradient, that means how y changes with respect to x. So this is my change in y. This small quantity here. So from here to here is y1. And from here to here is y2. So y2 minus y1 should give me this small piece. So this is y2 minus y1. I will do the same thing here for the x. From here to here is x2. From here to here is x1. So the difference should be this small part here. And that's going to be x2 minus x1. So my m is the ratio of the change in y over the change in x. So this is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Once I've chosen my 2 points, got the coordinates of the points and made this differences and divide, then I get m. And that is all. That is all what's required for the exam, to look for these constants there. Of course, the question that will be given to you is not in this way. So you have to try to play around to make sure that is the case. So if that's the case, how do we go about that? So let's say now we look at the question in hand. So this question has been given to us. They said based on the data given here for x and y as a1, a2, a3, a4, a5, b1. Normally in the exam, these are numbers like 1.1, 2, 3, 4, and so these are numbers. They wouldn't be something like this. So I just want to let you know the procedure and exact steps and what you required in order to be able to solve such problems. In a real situation, you have to do the calculation step by step the way I'm explaining. So I'm given values for x and values for y and told that the relationship is this way. But this relationship between y and x is not linear because x here has powers. The way we saw it, y equal to mx plus c. Y has to have the x has to have power only 1. But here it has power n. So we have to try to play with this in order to get something like this. I already also showed you that if I have log of a to the n to the base 10, then that's n log a to the base 10. So the n can come in front. So one way of doing this is to take the log, and I advise you to take the log to the base 10. You can use any base of your choice, but I think the most convenient one and easy one that you find on every calculator is log to the base 10. So, and this is mathematics. So if I take log to the base 10 of the left hand side, I must do the same on the right hand side. Mathematics is honest, and that should always be the case. So I would also take log here, a x plus 2 power n to the base 10. I also already indicated to you that log of ab to the base 10 is log of a to the base 10 plus log of b to the base 10. So I can split that here. This is a multiplied by this stuff. So this is equal to log of a to the base 10 plus the log of x plus 2 to the power n to the base 10. I have this, so I can apply this stuff. So my n can come in front. So this will be log of a to the base 10 plus n log of x plus 2 to the base 10. Remember, my right answer is log of y to the base 10. My idea is to see if this looks a bit like what I need. What is here? Is that in that form? So I'll try to fix it. We're in the salon, so we can play around. Maybe with some spray, it would be much more beautiful. So I'll write this here. Log of y to the base 10 is equal to, I'll just change the position and bring this in front. So this is n here, log of x plus 2 to the base 10 plus log of a to the base 10. Actually, this is true. I can see this as a big Y, see this part here as big X, and this as a constant. So you see, and the small n there. So in this case, I actually have it of that form. Y is equal to n x plus c. So what I'm left is to see if I can plot this graph, and I'll be able to pick the value of n and the value of c. And then after I get the value of c, I can then calculate the value of a. So what we need here is, this big Y is not given on the table. I have to look for it. This big X is not given on the table as well. They gave me the small ones. So what do I do here? Let me just fix my axis. So what do I need? I need log of y to the base 10. I also need x plus 2, the log of that. So I will try to calculate here x plus 2, which means you fill these values. So x plus 2 is, for example, here, this is going to be a1 plus 2, a2 plus 2, and so forth for the others. You can do that. So if here this was 1, this will be 1 plus 2, which is 3. This was 4, this will be 4 plus 2, which is 6, and so forth. You get that? Then you're also going to look for the log to the base 10 of x plus 2. So say this was 10, then the log of 10 to the base 10 is 1. This was 100, the log of 100 to the base 10 is 2. So you would fill some values here as well. So you fill them there. So I already have my big X, this one. I need big Y. Big Y is simply the log of y to the base 10. So I'll just simply take log of y to the base 10. And also fill. And this is big Y. So what we are going to plot on the graph, the values we use are the values of this big Y and big X. So the values that I would have calculated here using what was given to me. So my big X here and big Y are represented by these things that you see. If I succeed to do that, let me say I get points like that. In this case, say. Then this cuts, you extend the line until it cuts the vertical axis. Once it cuts this vertical axis, then that's the intercept. Let's say that is C. Then we say that log of A to the base 10 is equal to C. But this is the same like saying 10 to the power C is equal to A. So A is obtained. So your A, based on this question, will be equal to the value after you have plotted the graph that you would find when the graph cuts this axis. 10 raised to that will give you the value of A. I'm left to look for N, this N here. So N remains N. So once I get N, it's exactly like the N there. We already learned that you just take 2 points, say A and B, and then you go to your axis to see what they give. Go to your axis to see what they give. You go here as well, x1. You do that, you get x2. And then you simply take x2 minus x1, y2 minus y1, you get the ratio, and that's N. So my N here is simply equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So your A is equal to 10 to the power C, and your N is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That will be simply what you have to do. This is given to you. You transform your relationship until you get it in the form y is equal to nx plus c. Do not forget, you don't have to use the x and the y values that are plotted. You have to use what you have here as a new version. So this is my new y, log y to the base 10. So you take the y's there, you get the log. And this is my new x. You take x, you add 2 to every value of x that was given, and you take the logs, and you get new set of values. This set of values of big Y and big X are plotted. And based on that, the line is extended so that it cuts the vertical axis. When it cuts the vertical axis, you found your C part. Here, the C is not exactly what you're looking for. You're looking for A. So you have to play a little with it to get the A. And then the gradient or your slope, which is obtained by choosing 2 points on that, and then looking for this change in Y or change in X, and then you get N. And that is simple. This can be applied to nearly all the other versions. Of course, if there is something that you really need to know, please leave me a comment and I'll be grateful. Thank you. And remember to subscribe, thumbs up, share with your friends and discuss. Bye.